Welcome to Rave and Rant, where we praise the praiseworthy and roast the rest. Each episode, we dive into reviews and tips on businesses, health, products, and services that matter to you. Now, let's meet our dynamic hosts. Julian, a seasoned entrepreneur and tech enthusiast who keeps you ahead of the curve. And Olivia, our health and wellness expert with unfiltered takes on the latest trends. Together, they'll help you navigate what's worth your time and what's not. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an episode packed with honest opinions and valuable insights. This is Rave and Rant.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We know you, the learner, are always looking for that shortcut to knowledge, that one thing that can simplify your life or, help you make a sustainable switch without all the noise.
And today, we are diving deep into a garden project that does just that. It really bridges the gap between your vegetable patch and your cleaning cupboard. We're talking about the loofah plant, Loofah aegyptiaca.
Most people just think of it as a bath sponge.
Exactly. But it's this powerhouse vine that offers a truly zero-waste solution for your whole home.
So our mission today is a complete extraction. We want to give you the full guide from picking the right seed all the way to using your first homegrown scrubber.
Okay, let's unpack this. Is it actually worth the effort? I mean, isn't it just easier to buy a ready-made compostable sponge?
That really is the essential question. And the deep dive sources show that, yes, there's effort, but the payoff is just disproportionate.
How so?
Well, when you buy a loofah in a store, you're paying for one product, one sponge. But when you grow one single vine, you can get a dozen, maybe more, usable sponges per season. Wow.
Yeah, and they're all 100% natural, sustainable, and you can just toss them in the compost at the end of their life. It's a total replacement for those plastic sponges that never break down.
Okay, so shelf loads of zero-waste product. That definitely explains why we're seeing thousands of growers getting into this. But what are the requirements? Do you need a greenhouse or some kind of special setup?
Not at all. And that's really the biggest surprise. It's accessibility. The growing guides all stress that this plant is fundamentally beginner-friendly.
Beginner-friendly.
It's a vigorous climber, for sure, but it's not particularly fussy as long as you meet its basic needs. And the timeline for something that gives you durable goods is very manageable.
And that is?
Generally about 90 to 120 days from seed to harvest.
That's a pretty fast crop cycle. The thing that surprised me most in the sources was the geographic adaptability. I always pictured loofah vines in, the tropics.
Right, draped over pergolas.
Exactly. But the data shows this huge growing range, zones 5 all the way through 10.
And that's a critical insight for anyone listening. Zone 10 is almost frost-free, so that's easy. But the fact that it extends down into Zone 5, we're talking places that get serious freezing temperatures, that means this knowledge is useful for almost the entire U.S. and, tons of other climates.
But wait, how did those Zone 5 growers, like that one we saw cited from Minnesota, how do they actually succeed? That's not a mild climate.
That is where the skill mastery comes in. Loofah needs a long, warm season. So for growers in those colder regions, success really hinges on two things.
Okay.
First, a really early indoor head start. We're talking 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost. And second, often using season extension tools. Things like cold frames or even just a really sunny spot against a south-facing wall.
So it's not just about the plant, it's about mastering the technique.
Exactly. It's a practical application of tailored gardening.
Right.
If you can get those gourds ripe in a short northern summer, you've mastered a much broader skill set.
Okay, so this is a deep dive. Let's get into those practical, non-negotiable steps. If you want a successful harvest, the sources lay out 4 key stages you have to follow.
Right. And this is where the knowledge becomes truly actionable.
So let's start with step 1, planting. What does a serious loofah gardener look for in their seeds?
Quality and specificity. You need premium, non-GMO heirloom seeds of the true sponge gourd, Loofah aegyptiaca. And you absolutely have to look for a high germination rate.
Why is that so important?
Because you're starting so early indoors, every single seed counts. The seedling needs all the time it can possibly get before it goes outside.
And speaking of going outside, let's just reiterate that timing. You start them indoors way before the last frost, but you can't rush putting them in the garden.
No, absolutely not. You only want to direct sow or transplant once the soil is reliably warm. Think consistently above 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
What happens if you rush it?
That's one of the biggest pitfalls we see in the community forums. Cold soil leads to something called damping off, where the seedlings just collapse and die. And for someone in a cold zone, that setback can cost you weeks. It could jeopardize the whole harvest.
Good to know. Okay, step 2. Growth and care. It's a vine, so it climbs, but how sturdy does the support system need to be?
Very sturdy. This is not some little cucumber vine. As the gourds mature, they get heavy, really heavy. So a proper trellis isn't just a suggestion, it's a necessity.
And that keeps the fruit off the ground, away from pests and rot.
Right, and it helps them mature evenly. And for those listening without a big garden space, the sources do have guides for container growing.
What's the key there?
Scale. You need a big pot, at least 5 gallons, and you have to make sure the trellis is anchored really securely. Consistent watering is also way more critical in a pot.
Okay, so let's say we've grown this beautiful, heavy vine. Now, step 3, harvest. How do you know the gourd is ready to be a sponge and not just, a vegetable?
This is where patience really gets tested. You have to resist picking them when they're green. The indicators are color and weight. They have to turn completely brown, and they must feel noticeably light for their size.
What if it looks brown, but it still feels heavy?
Then it's not ready.
Yeah.
It means the inside pulp hasn't dried out enough. But the real insider tip we found is the seed rattle.
The seed rattle.
Yep. If you gently shake the gourd and you can hear the seeds rattling around inside, that's a fantastic sign that the internal structure has cured enough for processing. That's usually around that 120-day mark.
The seed rattle. That is the kind of detail you need. All right, step 4, processing. The moment of truth. The simple advice is peel, clean, and dry. I have a feeling it's more complicated.
Oh, it's significantly more complicated. If you mess this step up, you get moldy mush instead of a sponge. So first, peeling. Sometimes the skin is brittle and just flakes off.
And other times?
Other times you have to soak the whole brown gourd in water for a few hours to soften that outer layer before you can crack it open.
Okay, so skin is off. You're left with this fibrous skeleton full of seeds and, I imagine, a lot of gunk.
A lot of gunk. You have to shake the seeds out and save them for next year, of course. And then it needs a really thorough cleaning. Many guides suggest using a strong hose nozzle to blast out all that sticky residue.
That's essential, I'm guessing?
It's essential. Any pulp left behind is what feeds mold later. And then comes the final critical step, drying.
Right.
The cleaning adds moisture back in, so the drying has to be fast and complete. The best advice is to hang the sponges in a hot, well-ventilated area. You need maximum airflow on all sides.
So not a damp garage.
Definitely not a damp garage. You'll just get black spots and all that hard work is wasted. But if you do it right, well, that's how the Minnesota homesteader in Zone 5 was able to harvest over 20 of them.
That's fantastic. Okay, so we've talked about loofah as a replacement for kitchen or bath scrubbers. But now for the real aha moment from our sources. The versatility goes way beyond the sink.
It really does. The standard uses are great exfoliation, scrubbing pots without scratching.
Yeah.
But there's this huge DIY community that's capitalizing on the loofah structure.
I saw that story about the artisan soap maker. That was fascinating.
Yes, it's perfect for that. They embed slices of the loofah right into a bar of soap, so it's a built-in exfoliator. People use it in bath bombs, unique gifts. It creates a really cool, marketable product straight from the garden.
But the real shocker, the one that made me do a double take, is that loofah is edible. Now, wait a second. We're talking about the rough, abrasive sponge we just said you can use to scour pots. How is that possible?
It's the perfect example of how the plant's function is determined entirely by when you harvest it.
Okay.
When we talk about the sponge, we mean the mature, fully fibrous gourd that's dried on the vine for months.
And when we talk about eating it?
Then we're talking about the young gourd. The sources are very clear on this. For eating, you have to pick the loofah when it's small, green, tender, generally less than 6 inches long. At that stage, it hasn't developed that tough internal fiber network at all.
So it's basically a completely different vegetable. What kind of cuisine is it used in?
Mostly Asian-inspired cooking. It's described as mild, a little sweet, kind of like zucchini or cucumber. It holds its shape well in things like stir-fries and light soups.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, that dual utility, it changes everything.
It really does. It synthesizes the whole concept of sustainability. It's a single crop that gives you 2 completely different resources, food and a zero-waste replacement for all your cleaning supplies.
That's a true zero-waste system from one packet of seeds.
And it shows that the knowledge you build in your garden can directly change your entire footprint as a consumer.
So we've taken the deep dive. You now have the full extraction. It's an adaptable vine. Zones 5 to 10 needs major support. and has a 90 to 120 day cycle.
And critically, you know that success is in the details, that seed rattle for ripeness, and the need for high airflow when you're drying and prevent mold.
And you've got that mind-bending aha moment. This one vine is both a natural sponge and a unique edible vegetable.
The key takeaway here is you can gain the specific knowledge you need to replace those harmful, single-use plastic scrubbers with something you grew yourself, something durable and completely compostable.
It really does move sustainability from an abstract idea into your own backyard. So, we'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Considering the loofah vine can yield both food and highly effective zero-waste bath and kitchen supplies, what other common single-use household product might we be able to replace simply by learning to grow the right kind of plant? Keep digging. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
That's a wrap for this episode of Rave and Rant. We hope you found our insights helpful and thought-provoking. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss out on our latest reviews and tips. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a rating and review. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Have a topic you'd like us to cover or something you want us to rave or rant about? Connect with us on social media or visit our website to share your suggestions. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep exploring what's worth your time and what's not. This is Rave and Rant, where we praise the praiseworthy and roast the rest.